University Diaries podcast.
That was such a crazy time. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. This is going to be wild. This is going to be... Hello and welcome back to the University Diaries, Episode 3, Chapter 2. Welcome, and I hope that you're looking forward to this next episode. I know that I am, but first of all, I just want to get out of the way a quick apology. I do apologise for anyone that has been looking out for this episode. It was supposed to go out yesterday. I'd posted it all over the social media, and I was going to stick to my guns and go, right, it's going out, and unfortunately, I just ended up getting caught up in a ton of stuff, and I just wasn't able to finish the episode properly, so I was dead gutted about it. But now that I've got it all finished, I'm recording this intro now, and it's going out tonight, so I'm really pleased about that, and it's finally going out. So first of all, I just wanted to apologise for anyone that's been looking out for the episode. This episode was originally intended as just being about the Freshers' Fair, which is a day-long event that takes place within your first week at university. And it's an event that all of the local restaurants that are in your city, all of the bars, all of the pubs, clubs, all that kind of thing, they all go to this fair to essentially sell you on going to their venue or their establishment, blah, 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 blah. And you get given loads of free stuff. You get free drinks, free t-shirts, free everything, free stationery. You don't have to buy a pen for the rest of the year because everything that you'll need, essentially, you get within this one day. And this episode originally started off as just talking about that. And I was kind of happy with the result and everything. But then I was having a bit of a chat with my mum last night. We were having a bit of a deep, meaningful conversation, a DMC, if you will. And it was at that point, it was after we'd had this conversation anyway, that this episode took a new meaning for me. And the meaning was to essentially make the most of every situation that you land yourself in. I know that sounds like such a cliche, and believe me, I think it does as well, but I think it's so important, and I think that we forget about this a lot of the time, and we just swim through life thinking well, that's it, I'm good to go, I'm set, I've had my thrills, I've got my friends, I've got my contacts, the people that are going to help me are around me, and I'm in my safe little bubble and everything's great. Well, it isn't always like that, and it's not always going to go your way, and it's not always going to go the way that you think the river's going to go. The river's going to take loads of different turns and what have you, and you could end up going in a completely other direction than the one that you originally set out to go down. I know this is a little bit preachy, but it's something that I've just come back onto thinking about recently, and when I was putting together this episode, it became even more clear, because at this point in my university experience, I'd landed myself at university, I'd got myself a little group of friends already, and I pretty much thought I was set. I thought at this point, well, it doesn't matter if I don't make any friends now on my course because I've got everything going. I've already got some friends and what have you, and I'm fine. Well, I'm so glad that I didn't maintain that thought, because what you'll realise in this episode is that the best thing that you can do when you're in the early stages of your university experience is branch out. Just meet as many people as you can. Get yourself out there. Get yourself just talking to the random person in the elevator, or getting yourself into these funny little situations in bars and that kind of thing. It's all part of the experience, and it just makes it all the more worth it. So without further ado, let's dive into Chapter 2 of the University Diary. The Freshers' Fair is a day-long event that takes place at university, and usually coincides with your first official day on campus. It is effectively a cattle run around the student union where all of the fresh student meat ferries through, accumulating free bar tokens, promotional t-shirts, key rings, and other pieces of crap that'll at some point find itself strewn across the floor of an undergrad bedroom. However, before I could go and check out the Freshers' Fair, I had to go and attend a registration session in the building where all of my studies would be based. The email I'd received the day before stated, "Make sure to arrive at 10 AM prompt for registration and to receive your information for the day." I arrived just after 9:30 AM, just to be on the safe side. I arrived at the campus building where I would be studying for the next 3 years. It was a large 3-storey modern-looking building compared to some of the others that were on campus. One of the main features that defined the building was a large bulging glass cylinder that ran down its entire length that made it look slightly like the Starship Enterprise. There were large paving slabs that led you to the automatic doors that ultimately invited you into the building. Inside was a bustle of students, I presume mostly second and third years, that were cutting through a sea of newbies like myself who were blocking the way of them getting to their lectures and seminars. We were lost. We were given no direction of how to get to the registration room. We were like a bunch of bewildered deer caught in the headlights. I asked someone who worked for student support and she gave me some very sufficient directions of how to get to the room. I hopped into an elevator and pressed the 3rd floor button. As the doors closed, I saw a girl with shoulder-length dark brown hair and a denim jacket running for the elevator door. "Hold it, please," she shouted. She got in alongside me and she said she was also going to the 3rd floor. "Sorry, we've met before, haven't we?" she said, which defused the elevator silence that normally ensues when two strangers share a small confined space. She did look vaguely familiar, but I couldn't say for sure. "We were on the same interview day, weren't we?" She was referring to the preliminary interview day that we had attended, where you sit down with a couple of your course tutors and they ask you a series of pub quiz style questions about the subject you want to study. Although it's kind of like an initial test to see how much you really know about your chosen subject, it feels more like a litmus test for the tutors to see what kind of personality traits you exhibit, i.e., to determine whether you are a sheep, a person that waits on every word and command laid out by others, or you are a wolf, someone that brings game to the table and isn't afraid to cut down anyone that stands in your way. "Yeah, we were," I said as the penny finally dropped. "I'm so sorry, I'd completely forgotten your name." "It's Sophie," she said with a smile. We had a laugh about it and reminisced about our interview day on the way up to the registration room. When we arrived, there was another early bird like us that was standing outside the classroom. "Are you here for the journalism registration as well?" he said with a thick Lancashire accent. This lad looked like he'd just walked off a photo shoot for Foot Locker. He was wearing a vibrant coloured tracksuit jacket, light coloured skinny jeans that almost showed the contour of his testicles, and a pair of Yeezy boosts. His hair was styled to one side and shaved to a skin fade, and his teeth were as white as pearls. They were the kind of white that would make Ryland Clark look like a homeless tweaker on the underside of a bridge. We all introduced ourselves as we waited for the room to open, and Mr. Pearly Whites introduced himself as Darryl. Although we appeared at first glance to be the most unlikely people to be sharing a conversation together, I couldn't deny that after a few moments of us talking, there was a definite chemistry between us three, as we riffed off each other's jokes and shared an unusual number of laughs for a first-time encounter. This was a kind of chemistry that only comes around once in a full moon, the kind where absolutely no effort is required to maintain the conversation. It just flows like jazz music, and it was brilliant. The registration session was nothing special. There were about 30 or so others, and we were all given some details about our first timetabled workshop seminar and some details about how to register our keycards at the security office. We were eventually dismissed and told we had to go across campus to the student union venue to complete another stage of our registration. After that was completed, we could finally go and have a look at the Freshers' Fair. We were funneled through a large hall to a series of desks where a small group of older students sat at laptops and robotically asked us name, course, module code, and a few other things that you might expect from an interrogation or something like that. Me, Darryl and Sophie all registered at the same time, and we were promptly spewed out with the tidal current of other students into a gazebo tent where the first couple of stalls were for the Freshers' Fair. The best way I can describe the fair in a visual sense was like real-life clickbait pop-up advertisement that you would associate with a website that fills your screen with pop-ups. Nightclub promotional packs, Weatherspoons coupons, Lucozade energy sample cups, free Domino's pizza, get your free keyring to the Church of our Lord and Saviour Jesus Christ, because if the Lord can lead you to it, he can lead you through it. It was a total sensory overload. I lost track of time for a few minutes, but when I regained my sense of place, I found myself thrust into a meet and greet photo alongside Daryl and Sophie, with a couple of fading stars from the ITV channel. I had absolutely no idea who they were, but the bird that I had my arm around was pretty sensational, so I didn't mind too much. It was early afternoon, and we found ourselves already weighted down with all of the bags, t-shirts, coupons, flyers and stationery products we could possibly carry, not to mention a belly full of free pizza that we had consumed at the Domino's stand. Me, Daryl and Sophie decided it was probably about time to go and make use of some of these free drinks coupons we had been given. We found ourselves in a nearby pub, cashing our coupons in on some free vodka mixer drinks. Daryl, being the true Lancashire lad that he was, kept things basic and drank a pint of Carling. The remaining hours of the afternoon slipped away as we sat on old wooden bar stools in the corner of the pub, sipping on our drinks, finding our afternoon buzz, and enjoying the lazy afternoon hum of barroom chatter. It was Sophie that eventually said, "Let's get each other on Facebook." We then proceeded to get out our phones and exchange friend requests, the 21st century social equivalent of exchanging details after a car crash. It's a knee-jerk reaction, it's done without too much thought, and it's instant contact. Well, actually, I should rephrase that. It was more like they got out their phones and they found me on Facebook, as I was still rocking a Nokia brick phone that I had bought a few years ago at a discounted price of £7. It was my pride and joy and did everything I wanted it to. I did not see any reason why I needed a fancy iPhone or anything like that, except for when I wanted to drop a cheeky friend request to connect with newfound friends. That's unfortunately where the poor black brick came into a cropper. "You seriously used that?" Daryl and Sophie said behind stifled laughter. "Yeah, what of it?" I said. "What else am I supposed to sell my drugs with?" That joke got a big laugh from them. As we got into the early evening, it was about time to part ways. Daryl and Sophie weren't living on campus. Daryl lived in Burnley with his mum, and Sophie lived in a nearby town that was a short bus ride away. "We should get together and do something for freshers," I seem to remember us all saying in unison at one point. It sounded like a fantastic idea that made my heart buzz with excitement. It was a lot of fun spending the day with these two in a semi-sober state, so I couldn't possibly imagine how much fun it would be on a full-scale bender across the city. We left the pub together and went our separate ways. Daryl and Sophie walked down to the roundabout and across the road. I walked back towards the direction of the student union and turned left onto a road that brought me back to the halls of residence in fairly quick time. I was filled with excitement, not only after spending the afternoon with Daryl and Sophie, but for the plans I had already made with Alex and crew for that night. The first night of the Freshers' festivities. It was gonna be a hefty one. I unpacked all of my stuff from the Freshers' Fair. Half of it went in the recycling because it was nearly all flyers and leaflets, but there was 1 or 2 t-shirts I got from the nightclub stands, and an absolute ton of pens of all shapes and sizes, probably enough to open a small stationery shop. At least I wouldn't have to buy a pen for the rest of the year, I said to myself. So there you have it. That was Chapter 2 of the University Diaries, all about Freshers' Fair and getting to meet new friends and new acquaintances. I hope you liked that one, and I hope you liked the bit of the message behind it, because although it's a little bit daft and trivial with the stuff to do with Freshers' Fair and freebies and all that kind of thing, there's a much nicer message behind it, really, I suppose, and that's just push yourself to meet new people and get talking to people that, you know, look unlikely, that look like people that you might not necessarily talk to at first, but give them a chance and see what they're like, because that's really the story of this episode, really, and it worked out pretty well for me. So I'd definitely suggest that to anyone if you're thinking about going to university this time, or whether you're going to be possibly starting a new job. I think there's a lesson there for anyone, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. That's the point I'm getting to, is just there's a lesson there for everyone, and it's give people a chance, because you don't know how things are going to turn out. So I've got some really exciting news to share before we wrap up this episode. The first little bit of news on the community corkboard is that we've got the YouTube channel sorted. Hey, that's good news. I finally got round to getting it sorted, getting it set up and what have you. So we've got the last couple of episodes on there. There was the introduction episode, and there was chapter 1 on there as well. And I'm going to put this episode on there as well. There isn't anything visual on there at the moment. It's just literally the episodes with the still image of the University Diaries podcast logo thumbnail picture. But in the future, I'm going to be, in the very near future, should I say, there's going to be a lot more visual content on there. There's going to be whole filmed episodes of the podcast, as well as little digital shorts and features and stuff that will be exclusive to the YouTube channel. So there's going to be a whole variety of stuff on there. So if you've been enjoying the last couple of episodes so far, and that's perhaps something that you'd be interested in, then please go and check it out. It'll be great. Drop it a subscribe and hit the bell icon and all that good stuff, because there's going to be lots of great things on there very soon, and I can't wait to start filming. I've actually just got a new Sony camera. It's a DSC WX500. It's one of those cool ones anyway, with the screen that tips up at the back. And I'm looking forward to actually getting to film some stuff and getting like a full plethora of stuff to go alongside this podcast. It's going to be great. So definitely go and check that out. And then, of course, the usual plugs. If you haven't already liked the Facebook or Instagram page, please go and give it a like, give it a follow and what have you. On Instagram, I'm Luke_University Diaries. That's the official page for the podcast, so please go over there and follow me. It would be great to have some more followers. We're currently on 42, and I'm loving everyone that's if you've subscribed to the if you're following the Instagram, I really appreciate it, and thank you very much. And we're also on Facebook as well. If you go to the University Diaries podcast with Luke Smithurst, that is our official Facebook page as well, and you can also receive some updates on there about future episodes and all that good stuff. And we've got 41 likes and 41 followers on the Facebook page as well, so to all you lovely folks as well that have been liking and following the page, thank you so much. It's totally awesome. So that's pretty much this episode wrapped up, guys. I'll see you in the next episode. The next one should be a doozy. It's going to be all about freshers and the 2 weeks of the freshers ceremonies and what it was like for me in the first year, because I'll certainly tell you this, and it's not a spoiler, so don't worry. The first year was very different to my other 2 years that I was at university, and I continued to go to the freshers ceremonies. The freshers ceremony in my first year was very different to how it was in the couple of years that preceded it. And I think it'll be interesting to talk about that a little bit more in further detail. But I'm going to wrap it up there for today. So thank you very much for listening, and thank you for joining me once again. So until the next episode, I'll see you on the flip side.